How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, May 6th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances as we have a lot going on as we are still in the first week of May 2022. And before I preview what's going on today as well, I'm going to take a quick step back and look at where we are in the calendar year. With the NFL season being over, and now that the NFL draft is over, we're going to wait until September for the actual NFL season to start. In the NBA, there are 8 teams left that are competing for the 2022 title, and none of them played yesterday, but of course the second round will resume today. In the Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey, there are still 16 teams left that are competing for that Stanley Cup final, as teams are just starting to get their traveling underway for games 3 and 4. Taking a look at what is going on in baseball, the MLB is still in about the first or second month of its season as teams are starting to seed themselves out. And taking a look at what's going on overseas, we now have a final matchup for the Europa League final, as that will take place in a while. We will have about 2-3 more weeks of domestic soccer before we get into the continental tournaments. So, with that said, starting with playoff basketball, there was no playoff basketball yesterday as the playoffs will resume today as we see the game 3s in the 1-4 matchups in the East and the West. The first of them will be at 7 o'clock on ESPN as the Eastern Conference's 1 seed, Miami Heat, is going to go to Philly to play against the 4 seed 76ers. The Heat are currently leading this series 2-0. After they were able to win games 1 and 2 at home. They won game 1 by 14, and they won game 2 by 16. They're 2 more wins away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they'd face off against the winner between the Celtics and the Bucks. The Sixers have to win 4 of their next 5 games if they want to stay alive. And then looking at the second game, which is roughly the same story, the top seed Phoenix Suns are going to go to Dallas to face off against the 4 seed Mavericks. After the Suns won game 1 and 2 in Phoenix, they won game 1 by 7. They won game 2 by 20. Even though they're 2 wins away from making it to the Western Conference Finals to play against between either the Grizzlies and the Warriors, the Phoenix Suns have to win the Mavericks have to win 4 of their next 5 if they want to stay alive. That is what playoff basketball is looking like. Taking a look at what is going on with playoff hockey at the moment. Starting off in New York, the Rangers hosted the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Rangers would end up beating the Penguins 5-2. This would be after the Rangers went on to, I guess it was a pretty close game for a good chunk of it. But then the Rangers would score 3 goals in the third period to, of course, create that separation, as the Penguins did tie it up in the first, but after the Rangers' 2 goals in the second, the Penguins wouldn't really get close up in that game anymore. The top star of this game went to New York's left winger, Artemi Panarin. He finished with a goal and 2 assists. New York's goalie, Igor Shesterkin, finished with 39 saves as he finished with the team's second star. The third star went to New York's center, Frank Vatrano, as he had a goal and 2 assists. With this win, they have now tied the series up at 1 with the Penguins. Game 3 is going to be in Pittsburgh tomorrow on TNT as a result, as the series is, of course, forced a Game 5. Now the series is tied at 1. Both of these teams have to win 3 of the next 5 games if they want to advance to the next round to face off against the winner between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Boston Bruins. Taking a look at the second NHL playoff game that took place yesterday, it would take place in Florida as the Florida Panthers hosted the second wildcard seed Washington Capitals. Coming in, the Capitals led this series 1-0, but then the Florida Panthers would end up beating them 5-1 to even up this series after they scored their first 2 goals in the first period. The Capitals would score their lone goal of the game at the beginning of the second as they were down 1, and then Florida would score 3 unanswered to run away with it. Top star of the game went to Florida's center, Alexander Barkov, as he had 1 goal and an assist. The second star of the game went to Florida's defender, Aaron Ekblad, as he had a goal for himself. Their third star went to their goalie, Sergei Bobrovsky, as he had 26 saves, only allowing 1 goal on the night. With this win, the Florida Panthers have evened the series up at 1, as Games 3 and Game 4 will be played in Washington, D.C. Game 3 is set for tomorrow on ESPN, as both of these teams have to win 3 of their next 5 games in order to make it to the next round, where they face off against the winner between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending back-to-back champs. Taking a look at what happened in Denver, the Colorado Avalanche hosted the Nashville Predators, as the Avalanche were the top seed in the division and the Predators were the second wildcard seed. The Avalanche would end up beating the Predators 2-1 in overtime thanks to a goal from Cale Makar looking at the top star of this game. Cale Makar, their defender, finished with a goal, and the second star of this game went to Nashville's goalie, Connor Ingram. He had 49 saves on the day, even though he allowed 2 of them. The third star went to Nathan McKinnon, Colorado's center, as he had a goal. With this win, Colorado now leads the series 2-0, as games 2 and 3 will be played in Nashville. Game 3 will be tomorrow on TNT, and game 4 is then scheduled for Monday, as the Avalanche are 2 wins away from making it to the next round, where they face off against the winner between the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues. With this loss, the Nashville Predators they have to win 4 of their next 5 games if they want to make it into the next round. But as of right now, they're still alive. Looking at the last matchup from last night, as we go north of the border, the Calgary Flames hosted the Dallas Stars. After the Flames won Game 1 by a goal, the Dallas Stars would even the series at 1, after they would go on to shut the Calgary Flames out 2-0 for the night. In this matchup, their goals would come in the first half from the first period from Joe Pavelski, and the third period from Michael Raffl. And with these goals, the top star of the game went to Dallas's goalie, Jake Oettinger. He finished with 29 saves on the night. And then Dallas's center, Joe Pavelski, would finish with a goal. He was the team's second star. Calgary's goalie, Jacob Markstrom, had 21 saves, as he was the game's third star of the night. With this win, the Stars have tied their series at 1, as they will host games 3 and 4. Game 3 will be tomorrow on TNT. And with the series tied at 1, both of these teams will have to win 3 of their next 5 games if they want to advance to the next round, where they face off against the winner between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. That is what playoff hockey is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, the first match will be at 7 o'clock on TNT in TD Garden, as the Eastern Conferences are looking at the Atlantic, or at least in the Eastern Conference. The top seed in the Metropolitan Division, Carolina Hurricanes, are going to go to Boston to face off against the Bruins, who enter this matchup as the top wildcard seed. The Hurricanes lead this series 2-0 after winning their first 2 games at home. They won their first game 5-1, and they won their second game 5-2. Trailing by 2, the Bruins have to win 4 of their next 5 games if they want to advance to the next round to face off against the winner between the Rangers and the Penguins. The Carolina Hurricanes are 2 wins away from that next round. The second game today will be on TBS in Tampa Bay, as the reigning back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, Tampa Bay Lightning, are set to host the Toronto Maple Leafs. The series is currently tied at 1 after the Maple Leafs won Game 1 5-0. The Lightning won Game 2 5-3. Games 3 and 4 will be in Tampa, as Tampa has the opportunity to use that home energy and take full advantage. Both of these teams have to win 3 of their next 5 games if they want to make it to the next round to face off against the winner between the Florida Panthers and the Washington Capitals. Looking at the third game that's going to be happening today in St. Louis, the number 2 seed in the Central Division, Minnesota Wild, are going to go on to face off against the 3 seed Blues in the Enterprise Center. This series is currently tied at 1. This was after Game 1 was won by the Blues 4-0. The Wild will win Game 4 by 4 goals, as they won it 6-2. Both of these teams have to win 3 of their next 5 if they want to make it to the next round to face off against the winner between the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators. Last but not least, at 10 o'clock on TBS, the 3rd seed in the Pacific Division, LA Kings, are set to host the 2 seed in the Pacific, the Edmonton Oilers. The series is currently tied at 1 after the Kings won Game 1 4-3, and the Oilers were able to win Game 2 at home 6-0. Both of these teams have to win 3 of their next 5 if they want to advance to the second round to face off against the winner between the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars. That is what playoff hockey is looking like as we get into today's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on with baseball, starting off with Boston, the Red Sox hosted the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels would go on to shut out the Red Sox, scoring all of their runs in the last 3 innings of the game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Boston Red Sox were led out by their starting pitcher, Rich Hill. Rich Hill allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in the 5 innings he pitched. He struck out 6 batters and walked 1. The loss would go to the Red Sox first relief pitcher, Tanner Houck. He allowed 7 earned runs off of 5 hits. He pitched 2.1 innings before he was eventually pulled in the 8th. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 1, and with this loss, Tanner Houck is 2-2. In the Red Sox batting lineup, their only player with more than 1 hit was their center fielder, Jackie Bradley Jr. He went 2 for 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the Angels would see the win go to their elite starting pitcher and last year's MVP, Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani allowed no earned runs off of 6 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 11 batters and walk none. With this win, he's now 3-2. In the Angels batting lineup, their elite pitcher / designated hitter, their starting pitcher for the day, Shohei Ohtani, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Their first baseman, Jared Walsh, went 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a run as he hit his 4th home run of the year. Their center fielder, Brandon Marsh, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. He will go on to hit his 3rd home run of the season. With this win, the Los Angeles Angels are 17-10. That is currently the best record in the American League West and the second best record in the American League. The Angels have won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. They are sitting a game and a half ahead of the second-place Houston Astros in their division. With this loss, the Boston Red Sox are 10-16. They are tied with the Baltimore Orioles for the worst record in the American League East. The Red Sox have lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 8.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees alongside the Baltimore Orioles. With taking a look at what happened in Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers hosted the Cincinnati Reds. The Brewers were able to beat the Reds 10-5 to extend the Reds' losing streak to 9, as the Reds are 1 loss away from their second 10-game losing streak of the year. The Brewers were able to beat the Reds 10-5 after scoring 8 of their 10 runs in the first 3 innings of the game. The Reds did score the first 3 runs of the game, as the Brewers would take the lead in the bottom of the second off of an RBI double from Christian Yelich. After the Reds scored their first 3 runs, the Brewers would score 8 unanswered runs in the first 3 innings. Of course, that's how it went. On the losing end of this matchup, the Cincinnati Reds saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Hunter Greene. Hunter Greene would allow 8 earned runs off of 9 hits in the 2.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 7 and then walk 1. With this loss, Greene is 1-4. In the Reds batting lineup, their catcher, Tyler Stevenson, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 3rd home run of the season. And then the Reds center fielder, Albert Almora Jr., would go 2 for 4 with a run. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Milwaukee Brewers saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Adrian Hauser. Adrian Hauser allowed 5 runs off of 7 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He struck out 6 batters and walked 1. With this win, he's 3-2. In the Brewers batting lineup, their elite left fielder, Christian Yelich, went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. Yelich would hit his 4th home run of the season. Their shortstop, Willy Adames, went 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and 3 runs, as Adames hit his 7th and 8th home runs of the year. Their first baseman, Rowdy Tellez, went 2 for 5 with an RBI. Their third baseman, Jace Peterson, would end up going 2 for 4 with a run. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are 18-8. That is the best record in the National League Central. That is the second best record in the National League win percentage-wise, as only the Dodgers have a better win percentage. The Brewers have now won their last 3 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10. They're sitting 2.5 games ahead of the second-place St. Louis Cardinals in the division, and the only team that has more wins than them in baseball are the New York Mets. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are 3-22. That is the worst record in the National League Central, as they have now lost their last 9 games. They've lost 9 of their last 10, and they are sitting 14.5 games behind the Brewers. Going back to the Brewers, they are tied with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Los Angeles Dodgers for the longest active winning streak in the National League, which is a 3-game winning streak at this moment. And taking a look at what happened in the Mile High City in Denver, the Colorado Rockies hosted the Washington Nationals. After the Nationals took a 2-0 lead in the first, the Rockies would take the lead off of a go-ahead 3-run home run from Garrett Hampson to cap off a 4-run second to take the lead. And the Nationals would get close, but they just wouldn't necessarily get the lead back after they had it in the first inning. In the first and second innings, actually. On the losing end of this matchup, the Nationals saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Aaron Sanchez. Sanchez allowed 7 runs off of 6 hits in the 4.1 innings he pitched. He struck out 4 batters and walked 2. With this loss, Aaron Sanchez is 1-2. In the Nats batting lineup, their elite right fielder Juan Soto went 2 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 6th home run of the year. Their first baseman Josh Bell went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Their designated hitter Yadiel Hernandez went 2 for 5. Their third baseman Michael Franco went 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their catcher Keibert Ruiz would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his first home run of the year. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Colorado Rockies would be led out by their starting pitcher, Antonio Senzatella. He allowed 3 runs off of 7 hits in the 4.1 innings he pitched. He struck out a batter and walked 2. The win would go to the Rockies' first relief pitcher, Jhoulys Chacín. He allowed 1 earned run off of 2 hits as he finished the 5th inning and pitched the entire 6th. He would strike out a batter in that span, and with this win, he's now 3-1. The save would go to the Rockies' closer, Daniel Bard. Bard allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he allowed a hit. He would pick up his 8th save of the year. In the Rockies' batting lineup, their designated hitter, Randal Grichuk, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 4th home run of the season. Their first baseman, C.J. Cron, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Their second baseman, Brendan Rodgers, would go 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs. He would go on to hit his first home run of the season. And with this win, the Colorado Rockies are 15-10. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West. They've now won their last 2 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 2 full games behind the division-leading Los Angeles Dodgers. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are 9-18. That is the worst record in the National League East, and they are currently holding on to the 2nd worst record in the National League. The only team with a worse record than the Nationals in the National League is the Cincinnati Reds organization. The Nats have now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are sitting 9.5 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. Taking a look at what happened in Cleveland, the Guardians hosted the Toronto Blue Jays. They would pull off a 6-5 win. After the Blue Jays scored the first 2 runs of the game, the Guardians would tie it up in the bottom of the 3rd. In the bottom of the 4th, Ahmed Rosario's ground out would give them the lead, and then they would score 3 more runs in the 5th, and the Blue Jays just would not be able to catch up after that. On the losing end of this matchup, the Toronto Blue Jays saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Jose Barrios. Barrios allowed 6 earned runs off of 8 hits in the 4.2 innings he pitched. He would walk a batter, and with this loss, he's now 2-1. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Bo Bichette, went 3 for 5 with 2 runs. Their second baseman, Santiago Espinal, went 2 for 4. Their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., went 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Cleveland Guardians were led out by their starting pitcher, Savali. Savali would allow 4 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 5.2 innings he pitched. He would strike out 8 batters and pick up his first win of the season. With this win, Aaron Savali is 1-2. The save would go to the Guardians closer, Emmanuel Clase. Clase allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2 batters, and with his save, he now has 5. In the Guardians batting lineup, their designated hitter, Franmil Reyes, went 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Their second baseman in this matchup, Andres Jimenez, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the Cleveland Guardians are 12-13. That is the 2nd best record in the American League Central. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 2.5 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are 16-11. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East. They've now lost 5 of their last 10 games, as they now trail the division-leading New York Yankees by 3 games. Taking a look at what happened in Philadelphia, the Phillies hosted the New York Mets. The Mets would end up beating the Phillies 8-7. After the Phillies scored the first 7 runs of the game, The Mets would score 1 in the 6th, and after they were trailing 7-1 going in the 9th, the Mets would score 7 runs in the 9th inning in order to go ahead and win this game. They would go ahead off of an RBI double from Starling Marte. That would be the cherry on top. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Philadelphia Phillies were led out by their starting pitcher, Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola would go on to allow 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 7 innings that he pitched. He would strike out 7 batters on the day, and he would go on to walk 1. And with this, the loss would go to the Phillies closer for the day, Corey Knebel. Knebel allowed 3 earned runs off of 4 hits as he finished off the 9th inning as he would strike out a batter. He would pick up his first blown save of the year, and with this loss, Knebel is 0-2. In the Phillies batting lineup, their third baseman, Alec Bohm, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite designated hitter and the reigning National League MVP, Bryce Harper, went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 5th home run of the season. Their elite right fielder, Nick Castellanos, went 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 4th home run of the season. The Phillies second baseman, Gene Segura, went 3 for 4 with an RBI. Their center fielder, Odubel Herrera, went 2 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the New York Mets were led out by their starting pitcher, Taijuan Walker. He allowed 7 runs off of 9 hits in the 4 innings he pitched. He struck out 2 batters and walked 2. The win would go to the Mets setup relief pitcher, Adonis Medina. He would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit as he pitched 2.2 innings. He would go on to finish off the 6th, pitch the entire 7th and 8th innings, and with this win, he's now 1-0 as he was able to pick up a strikeout in that stretch. The save would go to the Mets closer, Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. This would be his 6th save of the year. In the Mets batting lineup, their right fielder, Starling Marte, went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 3rd home run of the season. Their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 5th home run of the year. Lindor hit his 5th home run of the year. Starling Marte hit his 3rd. Their elite first baseman, Pete Alonso, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their second baseman, Jeff McNeil, went 2 for 3 with a run for himself. And with this win, the New York Mets are 19-9. That is the best record in the National League East. That is currently the 3rd best record-wise in the National League, despite the fact that they have the most wins in the National League right now. The Mets have won 6 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 5.5 games ahead of the second-place Miami Marlins in their division. With this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are 11-15. They are on a 4-game losing streak as they have the 4th best record in the National League East. Their 4-game losing streak is tied with the San Francisco Giants for the 3rd longest active losing streak in the National League. The Phillies have lost 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 7 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. Taking a look at what happened in Baltimore, the Orioles hosted the AL Central leading Minnesota Twins, and now the Orioles they no longer have the sole worst record in their division. After the score was tied up at 3, actually the Twins held a 3-2 lead in the 5th inning. The Orioles would even up the game within the 5th inning with a Jorge Mateo home run. They would take the lead in the bottom of the 8th off of an Austin Hayes home run, and then another home run from Ryan Mountcastle would give them their 2-run cushion. On the losing end of this matchup, the Minnesota Twins were led out by their starting pitcher, Chris Archer. Chris Archer allowed 2 earned runs off of 5 hits in the 4 innings he pitched. He would strike out 6 batters. The loss would go to the Twins setup relief pitcher, Jhoan Duran. Jhoan Duran would allow 2 earned runs off of 2 hits as he would finish off the 7th, but he would get pulled in the 8th. With this loss, he's 0-1. In the Twins batting lineup, their right fielder, Max Kepler, went 3 for 4. Their designated hitter, Gary Sanchez, would go 2 for 3 himself. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Baltimore Orioles were led out by their starting pitcher, Spencer Watkins. Watkins allowed 3 earned runs off of 7 hits in the 4.2 innings he pitched. He would strike out 2 batters and walk 2. The win would go to the Orioles closer for the day, as it was Jorge Lopez. Lopez allowed no earned runs off of 1 hit as he would finish off the 8th and pitch the entire 9th inning. He would strike out a batter, and with this win, Jorge Lopez is 3-1. In the Orioles batting lineup, their center fielder, Cedric Mullins, went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 4th home run of the season. Their left fielder, Austin Hayes, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And additionally, their first baseman Ryan Mountcastle would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He would go on to hit his third and fourth home runs of the season. And then their shortstop, Jorge Mateo, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. He hit his first home run of the year. Going back to Hayes hit his third home run of the season. With this win, the Baltimore Orioles are now 10-16. They are tied with the Boston Red Sox for the worst record in the American League East. They have now won their last 2 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. As of this moment, the Orioles are sitting 8.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 15-11. That is the best record in the AL Central. They're the only team in their division who has a winning record so far. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've only lost 3 of their last 10. They are sitting 2.5 games ahead of the second-place Cleveland Guardians in their division following these 2 losses. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, the reigning American League champs Houston Astros hosted the Detroit Tigers. The Houston Astros held a 2-0 lead going into the 9th as the Tigers would tie it up off of a 2-run home run from Jeimer Candelario. In the bottom of the 9th, it would be an RBI single from Kyle Tucker, the walk-off single that would give the Houston Astros their win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Tigers would see the start go to Tarek Skubal. Skubal would allow 2 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 9 batters, and the loss would go to the Tigers' closer, Gregory Soto. Soto allowed 1 earned run off of 2 hits as he would not get a single out in the 9th inning. With this loss, he's 1-2. In the Tigers batting lineup, their future Hall of Famer designated hitter Miguel Cabrera would go 3 for 4. Their third baseman Jeimer Candelario would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. He hit his second home run of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Houston Astros would be led out by their starting pitcher Jose Urquidy. Urquidy allowed no earned runs off of 6 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 1. The win would end up going to the Astros closer, Ryan Presley. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 2 hits in the 9th inning. He would pick up his second blown save of the year, and with this win, he's now 1-1. In the Astros batting lineup, their elite second baseman, Jose Altuve, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. He hit his third home run of the year. Their left fielder, Yordan Alvarez, went 2 for 4. And with this win, the Houston Astros are now 15-11. That is the second best record in the American League West. They have now won their last 4 games. They are currently tied with the Texas Rangers and the Tampa Bay Rays for the longest active winning streak in the American League, as well as the majors after the Yankees' winning streak came to an end. And with this win, like I said, they trailed the division-leading LA Angels by 1.5 games. With this loss, the Detroit Tigers are 8-16. That is the worst record in the American League Central. That is the worst record in the American League. They are tied with the Washington Nationals for the second worst record in baseball, just ahead of the Cincinnati Reds. The Detroit Tigers have lost their last 2 games. They've lost 8 of their last 10. The Detroit Tigers are currently sitting 6 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins in the Central. Taking a look at what happened in Seattle, the Mariners hosted the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays would end up beating the Mariners 4-3 after they scored the first 4 runs of the game in the 4th inning off of a 1-run single from Harold Ramirez and a 3-run home run from Mike Zunino. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Seattle Mariners saw the loss go to their elite starting pitcher and the reigning American League Cy Young winner, Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray allowed 4 earned runs off of 7 hits in the 6.2 innings he pitched. He struck out 5 batters and walked 1. With this loss, Robbie Ray is 2-3. In the Mariners batting lineup, nobody on their team finished with more than 1 hit. Jesse Winker, their left fielder, would hit his first home run of the season, and so would their designated hitter for the day, Adam Frazier. On the winning end of this matchup, the Tampa Bay Rays saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Shane McClanahan. McClanahan allowed 2 earned runs off of 3 hits in 5.1 innings pitched. He struck out 5 batters and walked 2 before he was pulled in the 6th inning. With this win, McClanahan is 2-2. The save went to the Rays closer, Brooks Raley. Raley allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. He picked up his second save of the year. In the Rays batting lineup, their designated hitter, Harold Ramirez, went 2 for 4 as he had an RBI and a run. He was the only player on the day with more than 1 hit. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 16-10. That is the second best record in the American League East. They've won their last 4 games. They are tied with the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers for the longest active winning streak in baseball right now. The Rays have won 7 of their last 10. They are sitting 2.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees. With this loss, the Seattle Mariners are 12-14. That is the third best record in the American League West. They have now lost their last 4 games. They are currently holding on to the second longest active losing streak in the American League. Only the Oakland Athletics have a longer losing streak than the Mariners are in the American League. The Mariners, they have lost 8 of their last 10 games alongside this 4-game losing streak. They sit 4.5 games behind the division-leading Los Angeles Angels at this point in the year. Taking a look at what happened in San Diego, the San Diego Padres hosted the Miami Marlins, and the Padres beat the Marlins 2-1. They would break a 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 4th off of a solo home run from Manny Machado. That would give them the win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Miami Marlins would see the loss go to their starting pitcher, Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo allowed 2 earned runs off of 3 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 7 batters and walk 3. With this loss, he's now 2-2. In the Marlins batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit. That would be attributed to great pitching from San Diego. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown San Diego Padres saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Nick Martinez. Martinez allowed 1 earned run off of 4 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 1. With this win, Nick Martinez is 2-2. The save would go to the Padres closer, Taylor Rogers. Rogers allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. He would pick up his 11th save of the year. In the Padres batting lineup, their elite third baseman Manny Machado would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He also had a walk. He would hit his 6th and 7th home runs of the season for San Diego. With this win, the Padres are 17-9. That is the second best record in the National League West. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting half a game behind the division-leading LA Dodgers at the moment, as they are holding on to the 4th best record in the National League win percentage-wise. With this loss, the Miami Marlins are 12-13. They're holding the 2nd best record in the National League East. They are also holding on to a 5-game losing streak. That is the second longest active losing streak in the National League, as the Cincinnati Reds are the only National League team with a longer losing streak than the Marlins right now. The Marlins have lost their last 5 games. They've lost 5 of their last 10. They are now sitting 5.5 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. Last but not least, jumping out to the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants hosted the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals would end up beating the Giants 7-1. The Cardinals were up 3-0 when the Giants scored their lone run of the game, as the Cardinals would go on to score 4 runs in the 7th to put a lot of cherries on top of this win. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Giants were led out by Mauricio Llovera. Llovera allowed no earned runs in the 1st inning as he struck out a batter. The loss would go to the Giants' first relief pitcher, Zach Little. Little would allow 1 earned run off of 2 hits in the 2nd and 3rd innings as he would strike out 3 batters. With this loss, he's now 0-1. In the Giants batting lineup, their center fielder, Mike Yastrzemski, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their first baseman, Wilmer Flores, went 2 for 4. And then their right fielder in this matchup, Luis Gonzalez, would end up going 2 for 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the St. Louis Cardinals saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Miles Mikolas. Mikolas allowed 1 earned run off of 7 hits in the 5.2 innings he pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 3. With this win, Mikolas is 2-1. In the Cardinals batting lineup, their second baseman, Tommy Edman, went 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run. Their left fielder, Tyler O'Neill, went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. St. Louis's designated hitter in this matchup, Juan Yepez, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their catcher, Yadier Molina, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their right fielder, Dylan Carlson, went 2 for 4 with 2 runs. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 15-10. That is the 2nd best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 2 games in 6 of their last 10. They are now sitting 2.5 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers. And with this loss, the San Francisco Giants are 14-11. That is the fourth best record in the National League West. They are currently on a 4-game losing streak. The Miami Marlins and the Cincinnati Reds are the two teams in the National League with longer losing streaks than the Giants right now. The Giants have lost 6 of their last 10 games. They are now trailing the division-leading Los Angeles Dodgers by 3 whole games at the moment. So that's what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at how it's going to unfold into today, because today is Friday. None of the matchups are going to be on prime time, but at 2:20 in Wrigley Field, the Chicago Cubs are going to host Tyler Anderson and the Los Angeles Dodgers, as the Dodgers come in with the best winning percentage in the National League. At 6:40, Connor Overton and the Cincinnati Reds are going to host JT Brubaker in Great American Ballpark, as the Reds are holding on to the they're holding on to the longest active losing streak in baseball. At 7:05, Jordan Lyles and the Baltimore Orioles are going to host Carlos Hernandez and the Kansas City Royals. At the same time, Kyle Gibson and the Philadelphia Phillies are going to host the New York Mets, who are leading the NL East and are going to be led out by their goated starting pitcher Max Scherzer. Scherzer enters his matchup with a 4-0 record, holding a 2.61 ERA. At the same time, at 7:05, the New York Yankees, leading the American League East and leading all of baseball with their record, are going to be led out by their elite starting pitcher Garrett Cole, as they host the Texas Rangers, who are holding on to one of the longest active winning streaks in the American League right now. Garrett Cole enters his matchup with a 2-0 record, holding a 3-flat ERA. At 7:10 on Apple TV Plus, Nathan Eovaldi and the Boston Red Sox are going to host Vince Velasquez and the Chicago White Sox. At the same time, the Cleveland Guardians, led by their elite starting pitcher Shane Bieber, are going to host Kevin Gausman and the Toronto Blue Jays. Bieber enters his matchup with a 1-1 record, holding a 2.45 ERA. At 7:20, the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves are going to host Eric Lauer and the Milwaukee Brewers. At 8:10, Luis Garcia and the defending American League champs Houston Astros are going to host Bo Brieske and the Detroit Tigers. At the same time, at 8:10 on ESPN Plus, Josh Winder and the Minnesota Twins, who are leading the AL Central, are set to host the Oakland Athletics on Target Field. At 9:38 in Angel Stadium, the Los Angeles Angels, who are leading the AL West, are set to host Joan Avon and the Washington Nationals, who are sitting at the bottom of their division. At 9:40, Merrill Kelly and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host Chad Kuhl and the Colorado Rockies, as the Diamondbacks and the Rockies are closer than many people would many people would believe or expect them to the top of the table. At the same time, at 9:40, the San Diego Padres, led by their elite starting pitcher Yu Darvish, are going to host Sandy Alcantara and the Miami Marlins. Yu Darvish enters his matchup with a 2-1 record, holding a 4.44 ERA. At the same time, at 9:40 on Apple TV Plus, Logan Gilbert and the Seattle Mariners are set to host Josh Fleming and the Tampa Bay Rays. And then last but not least, at 10:15, Alex Cobb and the San Francisco Giants are set to host Jordan Hicks and the St. Louis Cardinals, as both of these teams are definitely fighting for playoff positioning way early on, as they have over 100 games left in their season. Taking a look now at what's going on with soccer overseas. Yesterday, we would see the second leg matchups of Europa League, as we now have a Europa League final that's set up. In the game that happened in Frankfurt, Frankfurt would go on to host West Ham. They would lead this matchup 2-1 after the first matchup. In that first matchup, Ansgar Knauf would score the first goal. West Ham would even it up in the 21st minute from Michail Antonio, and then Daichi Kamada's 54th minute goal would give Eintracht Frankfurt the advantage going into this matchup. And in this game, they would end up beating West Ham 1-0, as West Ham would pick up a red card in the 19th minute. Rafael Borre for Eintracht Frankfurt would score their lone goal. They would win 3-1 off of aggregates, and they would advance to the Europa League final. And looking at the other matchup that happened at the same time, the Scottish side Rangers hosted the German side RB Leipzig after Leipzig took a 1-0 lead in the first aggregate after their goal from Angelino. It would be Rangers who would win this game 3-1 at home and then secure a spot for them in the Europa League final. First goal came from James Tavernier in the 18th minute, and then Glenn Kamara 6 minutes later would even up the aggregate they would go on to take the 2-1 aggregate lead. Christopher Nkunku would score RB Leipzig's lone goal in the 70th minute to even the aggregate at 2. But then it would be John Lundstrom's 80th minute goal to give Rangers the win. Now Rangers is set to face off against Eintracht Frankfurt in the championship. Looking at how both these teams made it past the round of 16, just looking first at Frankfurt was able to beat Real Betis in this round 3-2 on aggregates, as Rangers beat Cervena Zaveda 4-2 on aggregates. In the quarterfinal round, West Ham was able to beat Lyon 4-1, and RB Leipzig or Eintracht Frankfurt beat Barcelona 4-3. And in the semifinals to get here, it looks as though Rangers beat Leipzig 3-2, and Frankfurt was able to beat West Ham 3-1 on aggregates, as this final is set to be on May 18th. It'll be a very interesting couple of weeks up until then, but congratulations to these two teams. And the winner of this of Europa League will go on to Champions League. So with that said, that is what happened yesterday. Taking a look at what's going on today, as we are about to enter yet another weekend of very contested soccer. The big games that are going to be, I guess, starting off in France, the reigning French champs, Lille, are going to host AS Monaco. Lille, the defending champs, are holding the 10th best record in France, as they are 9 points away from even UEFA Conference League, as it looks as though they may not play in a continental tournament next season. However, Monaco is holding the 4th best record in France. A win here could temporarily put them in second, alongside or just ahead of Marseille by goal differentials, as they sit even with Ron as well. Monaco definitely needs a win here. Looking at what's going on in Italy, the top team that's going to be facing off today will be Inter Milan, as they hold the 2nd best record in Italy. They are going to host Empoli. Empoli holds the 14th best record in the country. With a win here, Inter would temporarily put themselves ahead of AC Milan. They have 3 games left in their schedule, so all of these games are must win if they want to capture that title. The title for sure is going to be in Milan, but they don't know where it's going to be. And then at 3 o'clock, Genoa, who is currently holding on to the 2nd worst record in Italy, is set to face off against Juventus. Juventus is holding on to that 4th spot, as they've already clinched a Champions League spot. A win here could temporarily put them over Napoli for 3rd in Italy. So that's really the stakes for what's going on today. And with that said, I do want to thank everyone for listening. And I guess with that said, I want to thank the NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures. I do apologize for butchering the names. I do eventually plan on getting them all right. It's just there's so many good names. I'm really trying my best. And I apologize for the delay. I'm a few months behind at this very moment in time, but I do eventually plan on catching it up. But I do want to thank everyone for eventually coming around and finding this. I do hope all is well, and I will catch you with more tomorrow. Until then, I want to thank you all for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you with more tomorrow.